When searching for Native American artifacts, always search where the tribes would meet or where something unusual is said to have happened. The story that I will tell you now is one area definitely to search. A Native American legend about the region is about the birth of Loon Island in Alexander Lake. The Native American name for the lake was Lake Mashpal, Mashpaug. The story goes that there was once a mountain called Lake Mashpal, and that it rose where the lake is today. It was submerged quickly by the Great Spirit as a punishment for those tribe members who were engaged in drunken dances on the summit. Just the top remained, and that is the island today. Pines could be seen under the lake for many years. The question arises as to why this particular legend exists. What happened here? Was there once a mountain? Did something catastrophic occur very quickly? Whatever happened, there were once Native Americans living in the area. The Mohigan and Piqua tribes are closely related by blood and royal marriage. They lived on the banks of the Thames River in the Leyard region. The Native American name for river was mashapen kotak. It's Mashapequottuck. This is a Mohigan word meaning Great Piqua River or River of the Great Destroyers of Men. The Pequot War began. The Mohegans and Narragansett aligned with the English settlers, and in 1637 war was declared. So the Pequot village here was called Mashantuxet or Mashantuxet. There is a Pequot legend about this region. There is a treasure buried in a swamp here, and a Native American ghost protects and guards the loot. There is gold and other types of treasures to be found, but the exact swamp location is not clear. It could be Kapakomak or Chomowoki, which means owl's nest, due to the large number of owls who lived here or took shelter here. And Kapakomak means place of refuge or where we hide from enemies. It was here that the last battle of Pequot War occurred. Perhaps the treasure is in Mast Swamp, M-A-S-T Swamp. Mast Swamp covered much of eastern Connecticut. The swamp is also known as Pine Swamp or Ladyard's flower garden. Only in this place does a rare flower grow, a red heart rhododendron. The flower has a dark crimson heart instead of the usual golden center. This place in an enclosed grove was the last refuge of the Pequot when they were hiding from the English after the destruction of the fort in Mystic. Actually, the Pequot tried to hide here after Major Mason destroyed the fort, but they were followed. In the late June 1637, just as the flower was blooming, the Pequots were starved and captured here. Most died, never leaving the swamp. On July 13, 1637, the Pequot sachem Pataquapac was captured and taken to the swamp and killed. It is said that he died lying in the blossoms, and he added the curse upon the swamp because of the starvation of his people and on the settlers who killed the Pequots. The swamp blossoms lost the golden center and became blood red forever. Not only the Native American ghosts guard the lost treasure, but also any personal property that has been left there. It is said that if the visitor sees swamp or will-o'-the-wisp lights, those are the spirits who guard the treasure. Workers at the spring in the swamp are said to have found some of the gold that was said to be here, and perhaps still more was left to be found. The Mohegans are said to have dreamed about Captain Kidd, and that he was to bury gold on the Thames River banks. Tribe members supposedly found that gold, but was scared away by a large black dog, or sometimes a pig, or sometimes a pirate himself will scare them away from the gold. The location of this loot will only be told to the seeker in a dream, and the only way to retrieve the gold is by driving a stake into the being that chases them away. Perhaps some of the gold that was found on the banks of the Thames was buried in a swamp that the Pequots took refuge in. If you enjoyed this program, please subscribe, like it, and share it. Native American name for Litchfield was Wimpeting, which means ruinous help or pile of discarded goods. There was also a village here, or at the least a rest area. The area was also known as Wyatik, Wiatik, which means village of wigwams. Another name, Wecquaesgeek, Wecquaesgeek, means at the end of the march. The tribe that lived here was an important member of the Wappinger Confederacy and was almost totally destroyed by the Dutch in 1643, led by the Captain Underhill. The principal Native American village was called Kituteni, which in Mahitian meaning principal town. Gold, beryl, garnet, corundum, and tourmaline have all been found in the area. On the old Mount Tom Trail, there is a strange foundation that when the stairs are climbed, the hiker can hear a moaning sound from the floors below. English silver and gold coins from the late 1700s were found on the beach in Madison. These coins were found several miles south of the number 61 exit of the Connecticut Turnpike. In the 1950s, residents said they saw the remains of an old sailing vessel rotting offshore. Perhaps the coins came from that ship, or perhaps from the British battle fought in 1782 on East Wharf toward the south end of East Wharf Road. Now let's move on to another place, another city of Manchester. Several podunk villages existed in Manchester. The Cheney silk mills once created silk here in the 19th century. The town is also known as the 5-Mile Tract. About 13 miles east of town, around the Mansfield Depot, there was a manufacturing town called Merrow. Remains of this ghost town include abandoned buildings and ruins. During its heyday, about 250 people lived there. Marlborough was a resort area for the Native Americans. Pahagansik means Bear Hill, and Washiak means place of paint. Diamond Pond is named for the clear water, not any diamonds. In 1959, in the woods, a skeleton was discovered. This was a Native American who died around 1675, perhaps during King Philip's War. He was found under an Indian rock shelter and was killed by a musket ball. The Native American always buried the dead toward the setting sun. It was obviously not a natural death. This is a part of the Native American Trail from Hartford to Norwich, but is now this trail. The Native Americans believed that a spirit dwelt here on the western slope of Beta Hill. Now, let's move on to another place, another city of Meriden. Meriden, also known as Meridin, Moridan, and Meriden, is the silver making center of Connecticut since 1794. The gem amethyst has been found here. Though precious metals have been found in the region, the area somehow uh, historically has a very dark side. So be careful when you explore. Now, let's move to another place called Kelsey Point in Middletown, because there is a chest treasure buried by Captain Kidd, of course. Who else? And again, it could be Captain Kidd, it could be another pirate. Just follow the clues. So the chest buried there on Kelsey Point in Middletown in Middlesex County. Okay, now the Native American names for the area is Wesumpsha, which means puff, or shining or glistening rocks, or Waktyomsk, or Wapanag, meaning dwelling among the rocks. Those names are important when you do your additional research. This is why I'm telling you those. The Native American village was called Matabesset or Matabesic. The Europeans call this place Middletown because it is halfway between Hartford and Saybrook. There was a Native American fort on Indian Hill. Native American relics were found near the West River Bridge. The sachem Sohag is said to have built a home or even a castle on a hill near here. Near the Sebeth River was a field, north of Middletown, where many Native American artifacts have been found, including arrowheads. That might mean that a battle was fought here at some time. A ghost lumbering town can be found halfway between Middletown and New London. Lumber was sent to shipbuilders along the Connecticut River. All that remains are ruins today. There was a shipwreck here. The city of Hartford, that was the name of the ship, struck the drawbridge, completely destroying the bridge in 1876. A copper vein was discovered in another city called New Britain. The vein runs north to south for 2 miles. This town is also the site of an ancient Native American woodland village that existed here around 1820 AD. The village covered almost 5 acres at the meeting of the Farmington and Pequabag rivers. The first fort built in the 1600s was to protect the settlers from the Native Americans. The fort no longer exists, but the water well was used until 1900s. If you enjoyed this program, please subscribe, like it, and share it.